This video is on checking accounts. So, what exactly is a checking account? A checking account is a type of account with a bank or a credit union. This word credit union, you can think of it as sort of a type of bank. We'll talk more about what exactly a credit union is in another video. But basically, let's think about it as a checking account is a type of an account with a bank. So, what can you do with a checking account? Well, you can put money into a checking account. The two most common ways that money gets into a checking account is one, you can go in and deposit or put money in. So you can go into a physical store and put money in. You might put in actual cash or you might write the bank a check. Second most common way is this thing called direct deposit. So you can have your employer send your weekly or monthly or bi-weekly uh, checks income directly to the bank. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, you can have that pay directly sent from your employer to your bank. That right there is called a direct deposit. Another thing that you're able to do with a checking account is cash checks. So let's say your employer pays you every 2 weeks, but you have not set up a direct deposit. That means the employer will probably write you a check for however much he owes you and give you that check. A check is, of course, just a little piece of paper saying that you are entitled to that amount of money from the other guy's bank account. So the employer pays you your money, he writes you a check. If you have a checking account, you can go to that bank, give them that check, and they will turn that check into money. They can either give you cash right then, or they can put that into your account. If you do not have a checking account or any other accounts with a bank, in order to cash your check, you usually actually have to pay somebody money. This is actually called uh, cash checking or check cashing service. And if you do not have a bank, you usually have to pay some amount of money. It might be like $1 plus 1% of your check in order for them to turn it into cash and give it to you. Another thing you can do with checking accounts is you can write checks from your checking account. So you can write on a sheet of paper, $500 to Mr. Lee, sign it, and I can take that check, go to my bank, and I can turn that into money. And it comes out of your checking account. Another thing you can do at a bank if you have a checking account with them is get cashier checks. So cashier checks are kind of like the checks that we've been talking about before. If you just write a normal check, let's say you wrote that $500 check to Mr. Lee, that $500 does not actually come out of your account until I go and cash that check. However, cashier's check is a little bit different. A cashier's check, the money comes immediately out of your account. So if you went and got a $500 cashier's check, you go into a bank, they immediately take $500 out of your account, and then they write you a $500 cashier's check. Sometimes when you're writing people checks, they will ask you for a cashier's check instead of a personal check because it's supposed to be more secure. Because cashier's checks are supposed to be more safe for the person receiving the money. The times I have been asked to get a cashier's check is usually when I'm making a large purchase. So I've been asked to get a cashier's check when I'm buying a car off a stranger. And sometimes I've been asked for a cashier's check when I've been putting my safety deposit for a apartment. The first one with a car is more common. Getting a cashier's check for a deposit on an apartment is less common, right? Another thing you can do with a checking account is you could pay your bills online or pay your bills electronically. So somewhere on either the bank's website or the website for whoever you're trying to pay for whatever bill you're trying to pay, there's usually an option where you can pull money directly out of a bank account, out of a checking account, and pay that bill. Another thing you can do with checking accounts is you can get cash. You can take cash out of that account as long as you have money in there. And you can go to the actual bank and get cash from them, or you can get it from an ATM machine that is connected to your bank. If you go to an ATM machine that is not connected to your bank, you can usually still get cash, but they will charge you a fee. Other things you can do with your checking account is you can link it to certain things. So you can link it to other financial accounts. Financial is accounts having to do with money. So, for example, you can link your checking account to your savings account, or you can link your checking account to another bank you have, say an online bank or another bank with actual buildings. You can link your checking account to investment accounts. One company that has become popular in the last 10 years is a company called Robinhood. It's a type of investing account. And if you open an account with Robinhood, they will ask you to link it with a checking account. You can also link your checking account to certain apps. Certain apps will require you to. So, for example, there's an app called Venmo. It's any two people with this app called Venmo are able to send money to each other, but the Venmo app requires you to link it to a checking account. So, how does a checking account work? Well, step one, you go into a bank, or you go to a bank's website, or you can even call the bank and you open an account. Then you put money into the account, either by physically going there and depositing money, by sending it to them electronically, or by having your boss send your monthly or bi-weekly checks to them. So you put money into the account, and after that you can use the money that's inside the account to pay for other things later. So the following things are things that are sometimes available with your checking account. So these are things that are maybe available with your checking account. So this word interest is money that the bank pays you for leaving your money with them. So if you are paid interest, the money that you left in there will earn you money every month or every year. So this is something that is only maybe true with checking accounts. There are many checking accounts that do not pay any interest at all. Even the ones that pay interest do not pay very much. So if you took the average for all checking accounts in the whole US right now, as of November 2020, the US average is 0.04% per year. That's how much interest you would get. So 0.04% per year means that if you put $100 in a checking account and you leave it there for the whole year, the bank will pay you 4 cents in interest for the year. So it's very low. I have written here that this is something that is maybe available with your checking account, but it's actually available for basically all checking accounts. It's this thing called overdraft protection. This word draft means to pull money out. So an overdraft is when you try to pull out too much money. When you try to pull out more money than you actually have in the account. That is called an overdraft. This protection part is saying that if you try and pull out more money than you actually have in your checking account, the bank will let you, but then it will charge you a fee. And the fees come in different types depending on the bank. Some banks will charge you a percentage of that extra amount per day. Some banks will charge you a flat fee. For example, they might charge you $35 every time you pull out more money from the bank than you have. In my experience, this percent per day is a better fee. It's a cheaper fee than the flat amount. But that will, for you, depend on how long it takes you to pay them back. And some banks, and it also depends on how big of a percent they might charge you or how many dollars is the flat fee. Some banks will actually charge you a combination. They'll charge you a percent every day, and they'll charge you a flat fee when you first try to take out too much money. So most banks do offer overdraft protection, and that's because they're making money off of you every time you overdraft. This is the money they're making. So because this is a way for them to make money, although I'm telling you that it's maybe offered, it's probably offered. There are the vast majority of checking accounts have overdraft protection. You are actually allowed to turn off the overdraft protection, but when you first sign up for a checking account, it is automatically on until you tell them to turn it off. And once again, that's because they make money off of you using through this overdraft protection, so they want it to be on. Another thing that maybe is something with your checking account or is a monthly fee. So many times nowadays, banks will charge a monthly fee for you to have the account. That's because you being able to do all these things costs the bank money. So, except for getting a cashier's check, all these things that you see can be free through your bank. Uh, all of these here are definitely free. Those four and this one. This one is free as long as the ATM machine is through your bank. So being able to do all those things with your account, every time you do one of these, it costs the bank some money. So banks will sometimes have a monthly fee. They will oftentimes have a monthly fee attached with a checking account. However, many banks will waive that fee. Waive means you don't have to pay it. So many banks will say you don't have to pay this fee as long as you meet some sort of criteria, as long as you do something uh, or that something is true about your account. So these are the types of things banks will typically put as a criteria for waiving your fee. They might say, oh, you have to have an average balance of at least blank amount in your account for that month. And the reason for this is because if you are leaving money in the account, then the bank is able to use that money to make money by lending it to other people. So instead of charging you money for having the account, if this is true, well, the bank is like, okay, well, we can make uh, enough money to cover the checking account through this other way by basically lending out your money to other people. Just for record, the bank lending out your money carries no risk for you. Bank also might be like, oh, if you make at least X number of purchases in a month using your debit card, then they will not charge you the fee that month. And not because every time you make a debit card, once again, the bank is making some money off of you doing that. The bank is basically charging the person you're buying the stuff from a little bit. So they're charging them a fee when you use your debit card. Um, so the bank is able to make money off of you that way. So they say, okay, well, if you do that, then we won't charge you the monthly fee. Just for the record, you spending money through a debit card, even though I said the store is being charged an extra fee, it does not change how much you are charged. Or at least it's not supposed to. Another way that, or another common criteria for a bank waiving the fee they charge you is, say, they'll tell you you have to make at least or pay at least X number of bills online per month. And if you do that, they won't charge you the monthly fee. So for this one, actually, the bank is not actually making money off of you doing this. The reason the bank would be willing to waive the monthly fee for you doing this is because people who use their checking account a lot typically will, in the future, use the bank's other services more often. And so the bank is basically trying to get you to do this so that in the future you'll use other services where they will make money off of you. They actually do not make money off of this, but they might still have it be a criteria for saying, all right, you don't have to pay your monthly fee this month. Oh, and I almost forgot the most common criteria. The most common criteria is having a direct deposit. So as long as you are willing to have your employer send your pay to that bank every month or deposit it into the bank every month, the bank will just say you won't have to pay your fee this month. And the reason for this is basically a combination of number one and number three on why the bank has this be a criteria. Okay, so why get a checking account? What are the benefits or pros for having a checking account? One, a checking account is super liquid. When I'm using this word liquid, when you're talking about money or you're talking about easy to change into cash. So, for example, a checking account is super liquid because you can just go in and get your money in cash whenever you want. An example of not liquid would be a car. Even if you have a $10,000 car, it is hard to turn that into $10,000 in cash. If you have a $10,000 car, you can't just pull out $1,000 from that $10,000, or it's more difficult. So once again, one of the benefits of a checking account is the cash in there is super liquid. Because it is a super liquid account, this is the best type of account for high turnover. So high turnover is the money comes in and out and in and out and in and out a lot. So this is usually the account that most people pay their bills from. So they deposit money in there that they think they're going to use pretty soon, and then they use it to pay bills. That's typically what a checking account is used for. Checking accounts also are FDIC insured. Basically, this is insurance from the government saying your money that you have in a checking account is safe. Even if the bank goes out of business, the government will give you back any money that you have in there. And this is up to $250,000 in a checking account. So if you have $100,000 in Bank of America and Bank of America goes broke and goes out of business, the government will give you your $100,000 back. Anything over $250,000 is not insured, but if you have more than that in a checking account, well, I'm sure you can figure out something else to do. So basically, there is no risk of losing money in a checking account. What are the drawbacks or cons, or what's the bad things about a checking account? Well, checking accounts earn either no interest or very, very low interest. The interest rate in a checking account is always lower than inflation. Reminder, the word inflation is the rate at which prices are going up. So if you just leave money in a checking account for a real long time because the amount of interest you are earning is less than inflation, how much that money can actually buy starts decreasing in value over time. This is also true if you don't have a checking account and you just keep your cash in your house. Um, but this is a drawback or bad thing about checking accounts, that the interest you get is lower than how fast the prices are going up.